Hi, long time no see. In today's video, we'll discuss why you sometimes forget vocabulary you just learned and how to restore them back in your brains. This situation happened to every single English learners. It happened to me too. There's a situation that I learned a lot of vocabularies and I write them in my notebook and I never looked back. That's the reason why we always forget words we just learned. So, we will look through 5 of the main reasons why we can sometimes forget words we just learned and how to remember them more effectively. Okay, so coming to our first, which is called connections. Yes, connections. So, when you learn a word, you don't provide your brain with enough connections. This means like visual, audible, and mental. So here's like a problem that I see mostly in English learner is that they open an English video or like they open a book and write down some words they do not understand. But they just write it down. They do not visualize the image of the word inside their head. And part of this reason is that they just learn not for speaking, but mostly for studying for their exams. So that's the main reason why we don't provide enough connections with our brain when we're learning a word. So the solution is that whenever you learn a word, make sure to find 3 personal connections. This means is that ask yourself 3 of those questions. Firstly, where you learned it. Secondly, like how you can use this word. And finally, how it applies to your life. By answering those questions, you can actually make some connections and remember this word easier. So for example, you came upon this word. Let's say the word is bank on. That's a phrasal verb, bank on. And you make 3 personal connections, is that you remembered, okay, where do I learn this? I learned this like somewhere in a grammar book last week. And you kind of like think about how I can use this word in conversation. And finally, how it applies to my life. By making some connections, you can actually remember the word easier. Make sure to actually visualize it, and making some examples. So if you learn the word easy, apple, but you do not know what apple means, even if you know, but you do not see the picture that is connected to the word, it's also pretty hard for you to remember that word in the long run. The second reason is what I called interest. Sometimes when we learn a word and we're not very interested in that word, so learning words are not very interesting to you, can make you feel like you're not really interested and you don't want to even remember this word. The solution is that I would suggest you to create a database in your computer or in your notebook. And for example, you'll create a database like this is all the vocabulary about art or all of the words and terms about school supplies. And by creating this database, you'll actually learn which words that are interesting to you and which kind of words that you can use when talking about a specific topic. For example, you want to talk about school supplies, so you can easily review your vocabulary in like your own database. Okay, this page I have created a list of all the words about school supplies. So first of all, you have to think about your interest. Think about what interests you. So remember, interest is really important when it comes to learning vocabulary, English vocabulary. The third is what I called usage. It's easy. When you don't use that word enough, you easily forget it. That's like the most common thing, and we know that. For example, we just learned this word, but we do not apply it in our exercises or when we're speaking. It means we can easily forget it. So if you don't use them, you will lose them. The solution is that whenever you learn a word, make sure to use it like 3 times within the first 24 hours. There are many ways. You can either use it to describe your day, or have this interesting thing is use it under a comment in a video, or you can just explain it to someone or teach somebody that word you just learned. So make sure to use that word frequently, because the only reason why you forget the word you just learned, like for example, if you do not use them, you can easily forget that word within 1 hour. So make sure to use them frequently. The fourth reason why we can sometimes forget the words we just learned is what I called interference. So sometimes you learn something else before you use what you already learned. So this interferes with your brain's ability to store and remember things. So this is about your brain. You learned something else before, so you learned this word and you don't review it enough. You quickly come to another topic to learn. So it means it results in that you can maybe remember the topic that you just learned, but forget the topic that you previously learned. So this has something to do with your brain. And I would suggest you to learn one by one, which means if you're learning this word, take your time to actually remember it first before you come to the next word and the next topic. Because you have to make sure that you understand it before adding new words, understand the meaning, understand the usage, and understand how to use it in your own life. And the final reason, I think it's because of stress, mostly because of stress. Because I found myself constantly learning new words in my big fat grammar book. Whenever the test is coming up and I'm just trying to cram as much vocabulary in my head and remember them all. That's actually impossible and nobody can do that. You're too stressed to retain information. So how to stop feeling stressed when you're learning vocabulary is change your focus. You're not learning this word for your exam. You're actually learning those vocabularies to actually learn and widen your vocab when you are speaking. So don't just, because I think that when you learn a lot of words before your exam, that's not the best way to collect and advance your vocabulary. And take periodic breaks. So you can actually section them, okay? And today, let's say we have 3 hours of learning for our exam. So let's just take periodic breaks. In this 10 minutes, I will learn 5 words. Take a break and learn maybe other types of grammar. And moving on, we will learn the other sections of word. So take periodic breaks. And the last step is that remember that people want to listen to you. The words you are learning will help people understand you. If you change your perspective, you can learn English words easier. So remember, stress can really add up, because imagine you're so stressed out and you haven't remembered the usage, the meaning of those words. So no matter how hard you tried, you cannot understand it, you cannot remember it. Even if you remembered it now, tomorrow you'll completely forget all of those words. So those are the 5 main reasons why we would forget vocab and how to restore them back to our brains. I hope this video was useful to you. Bye.